Sponsored by Anthony Mendez.
AM 1220 KDOW and Money 2.0 present The Real Estate Report with Tony Mendez and Gordon Hines. Bay Area real estate and mortgage experts with over 25 years in the business. Now, with an in-depth look at this week's local and national real estate news and what it means for you. Your hosts, Tony Mendez and Gordon Hines.
Welcome into the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendez.
And I'm Gordon Hines.
Thanks for being with us today. What a wonderful day it is. This is a call-in show, 800-516-1220, 800-516-1220, or email us, tony@bayarealoansource.com or gordon@bayarealoansource.com. Great ways to get in touch with us. We are in the real estate business. I've been in the business in financing for, 20 years. Gordon's been in the real estate side, financing, money management, property management. You do resales, what a lot of people know as flips. You do everything for 28 plus years. I think anybody who's been in real estate, who's ever owned a house, you can say they've been in real estate, but they aren't active. They're in real estate, but they're not active. You're one of the kind of people that is just you keep buying, you keep selling, you keep managing, you keep buying, you keep fixing, and keep selling. I think that's the real true kind of mark of a professional real estate.
Well, I would like to tell people I'm time tested, and I think in anything I believe, whether it's sport, whether it's education, whatever you do, anything that's time tested is valid. Real estate have many cycles, and I've been around so long. I've seen many different cycles, and I understand cycles. And I understand everything is time stamped, so we just got to be able to work through it. I think many people sometimes can make things through the good times, but when the tough times come, that's where decision making is very, very most important. If you're buying a property right now and everything is going up, you can't really make a bad decision. But what happens then when property values start to go down? You got to be able to hold and withstand that property and keep that property to the duration of when people aren't paying rents and no money's coming in. That's the true test of any investor, whether it's the stock market, whether it's in education, whether it's sport. And that's why I think that's where my value comes in.
I see a lot of people who are trying to do that kind of thing. We have some investors. I love this one client. He's kind of like a stay-at-home dad type of guy. He does a kind of a tutoring business. His wife works in the healthcare industry, makes good money, but he owns like 10 properties. And he's like, man, I can't tutor anymore. And I got to keep managing these properties because it's just so much work. And it pays off. I mean, he has a couple properties that he bought in pre-crash that are still not doing as well as he wants them to, but he's able to manage everything. And it really does take 100% effort, a dedication, and a knowledge of the business to handle this. So, but then at the other side, we see people who are trying to do this that fail. They still don't understand the mortgage side. They don't understand the real estate side. We even see realtors that are working with these people that don't understand the business and they're not using professionals. And I think that's a really big mistake. So you see both ends of it. What is your thought on people who are trying to get into the business that, whether it's selling or buying or fixing up or even into the financing side? What do you think are some of the biggest mistakes that people make?
Well, I think a lot of things is everything is, in theory, it all sounds good. Let's say, for example, rent's $5,000, the payment's $3,000. I got a $2,000.
Yeah. You see other people doing it. That's the problem. You see other people doing it. How are they doing it? And they think they can do it right away.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it doesn't always work out that way. I tell people, if you really want to get in this business, the best thing that I would recommend is doing the first couple of projects with someone else. Kind of shadow someone, see what they're doing right. And sometimes you can improve on some of the things that they're not doing right, but you got to understand the whole concept. So trying to go out there and do it on your own, reinvent the wheel, is very, very difficult to do those kind of things. Shadow somebody, talk to as many people as possible. I know myself personally, whenever I'm involved in any type of situation, I don't care what it is. If it's just looking to buy a raincoat, I'm going to talk to somebody who lives up in Seattle. Hey, what's the best kind of raincoat to buy? So I'm always kind of seeking out information. I think the more information you have, the better decision you can make. I believe today I'm a better person today because I have more information I have today than I had yesterday, so I can make a better decision for tomorrow. So that's what I always prepping people on. Talk to professionals, look at certain situations, and get help. Can't go wrong.
You said all the things to do right. So apparently the wrong way to do it is not to do those things.
The wrong way to do it is to try to do it on your own. The world wasn't built by a person by himself. Not one person is a whole summation of every possible knowledgeable situation. Always good to help. Always good to reach out to people. Always good to talk to the professionals and get to the ultimate source is a way to do it.
There's a lot of really interesting stories in real estate. It could be everything from the way you title. You're working with somebody right now, for example, who the brother bought a house, then he moved out, but the other brother stayed, and he took over the mortgage, and then they paid it off. But now the house is free and clear now. But now the guy wants to take money out, the other brother, but he's not on title. And how are you supposed to take money out of the house when you're not on title? And that's a big conflict with lenders. So it could be even the way that you, when people get divorced and they, one spouse decides to keep the house, but the other spouse says, well, I need you to buy me out. And then that one individual that stays in the house can't buy the person out, and they end up having to sell the house because it just doesn't work. And then they go out and get a co-signer, and then they're back in the same situation.
Yeah, this is a situation, to be more precise, mother died a few years ago. There were two brothers, the only heirs. Mother had a reverse mortgage. Brother came to me, wanted to reverse mortgage, pressing to pay him off. We were able to refinance reverse mortgage and pay off reverse mortgage. The one brother A, didn't have a job, so he couldn't go on title. Brother B did have a job. We did a loan in his name. Brother B now has since moved out into another state. Brother A has now moved into the property. Brother A would like now to get some cash out to kind of improve the property and add on to the property. Brother A, I asked him, do you at least make the payments? No, he sends the money to Brother B. So I can. The only thing that he has is actually possession. His name is nowhere on title, and of course his
maybe the utilities or something.
His
like
brother's
that.
willing to sign, do what he needs to do, but right now he cannot take cash out because he doesn't have the credentials to take cash out the property.
So we get a lot of people who email us scenarios like that, and we give them advice. We appreciate anybody who sends us an email, Tony@BayAreaLoanSource.com or Gordon@BayAreaLoanSource.com. This is what we do. We help people prepare, and that's the one thing in real estate which we always say is prepare and start early. Again, it's call-in show 800-516-1220, or you can email us, Tony@BayAreaLoanSource.com. Freddie Mac, they have their 30-year fix today right in the 4.57 range, 15-year at 4.04%, the 5-year ARM at 3.83%. These are relatively unchanged. So we've hit some highs. We've come back down. We've seen some volatility in the market. Saw a big Monday. Didn't really reflect that much in the 10-year yield, which is really the underlying index behind the mortgage rates. But they're still relatively low compared to where we were back in 2005, 6, and 7. It's hard to imagine that we had high home prices like this back in 2005, 6, and 7 with higher rates. So I think we still have a little bit of room to go. With that said, we're also seeing more down payments. We're seeing better credit scores. We don't have the interest-only loans anymore. We don't have the teaser rates. We don't have the neg-am loans. But people are really grasping the 30-year fix today, and I really like that and for those who think that I have a person who keeps calling me and saying, or emailing me and saying, oh, I think there's going to be a crash. I'm waiting for prices to come down. And I'm like, I'm really worried we're going to see that snowball effect, and I don't think we're going to have it, purely because the people who are getting these rates, these lower rates, and the amount of down payment they're putting in, and the guidelines that they had to follow, they are solid owners out there right now. It is a really good ownership pool right now. Do you think that your neighbor who put $250,000, $300,000 down on their house is going to bail after qualifying, full dot qualifying on this loan, and he's going to bail, and then his neighbor's going to bail, and his neighbor's going to bail? It's not like that anymore. In fact, we're seeing a lot of economists, Gordon, say that the key here is when we do have our next recession, that real estate will remain relatively untouched or unfazed.
Well,
because of that.
We recite these rates on a weekly basis to kind of show you the chart of the direction of where rates are going. And the market, unfortunately, is going the same direction as the rate, which has been an upward trend. The Feds have been trying to stimulate the economy by keeping rates low over the last couple of years. Now the economy is actually functioning on all cylinders. The unemployment's down, the stock market's up. So the Fed now has decided they're going to take rates up. I guess, as Tony, we talked about that last week, that if the Fed doesn't take rates up and we start to stumble the marketplace, if they never raise them, we had no place to take them down to. So it's kind of a I won't call it a game, but it's like a theory that we always talk about, that the market works on change, either upward or downward. It's always change, and we need that change to kind of keep the market healthy. So if rates now are going up, now that the opportunity to take rates up are there, the markets start to stumble, the opportunity to take rates down would actually come back, so you kind of keep the market balanced. So it's kind of interesting what we're seeing out here in the marketplace. We got our finger on the trigger every week. We talk rates. We talk what's the 5-year fix, the 30-year fix, the 50-year fix. And you kind of look at the trend. If you listen to the trend, you see that rates have actually been going up, but you're looking at the affordability, which has gone up, but people are still buying homes.
You just had somebody go to a 15-year. I found it very curious because I went through their file and I looked at it, and I found it very curious that they did that. Now they can afford it. That's the one thing that obviously because they got it. That's the interesting thing. They actually can afford it. If you get a loan, you can afford it. What was their mindset behind it? Because their payment was much higher. Now I understand that they have other real estate that's been paid off. They have about 5 properties now. Where was their mindset of that? Let's get into the 15-year, why that's important to people. Well, other than the fact that you save tons of interest.
Yeah, this particular client, he's in a 30-year fix, about 3 years now. And he's actually in an FHA loan because he had a catastrophic event many years ago. He lost the property. So when he bought this particular property as his primary residence, his only option was FHA. So now we're looking to refinance him. And he's got more than enough equity, but the problem is the event that triggered his catastrophic financial event is still in place, so we couldn't take him to a conventional loan. We had to take him to an FHA loan. So we refinanced some FHA loan, no cash out. We actually reduced his rate, went to a 15-year fix. He still is paying the MIP factor. His payment has gone up, but he has 2 jobs. He's an RN. He works 2 jobs. He makes plenty of income. Even though his payment has gone up, in 15 years' time, his house is actually going to be paid for versus if he stayed in the loan he's in right now, he's got another 27 years left of payments.
So you don't want a 15-year going into retirement. You want a 15 years to end before you retire.
Right, he's 48 years old, so 8 and 5 is 13.
Sure,
so right
63.
at 63, that house will be paid for right about time for retirement. I mean, so if you look at it, he's actually
as long as he doesn't go right into a reverse mortgage, right?
Yeah.
I see a lot of people over time they end up paying their mortgage down aggressively, and then right when they hit the age that they can qualify for a reverse mortgage, they go into a reverse mortgage, which now they're taking the money back that they just put into the property.
Well, we talked earlier, everything works on cycles, right? Everything that goes up must go down. So you put money in. I guess it's like a savings account. If you look at it that way, right? You put money in a savings account, put away for the time being, and when it's high times that come, you go back and reach and get that money, and that's where it kind of keeps you afloat.
The key is that he's working during that time that he does have that higher payment, and he's saving a lot of interest. If I can show you on any of your mortgages, if you're in a 30-year fix and you're 5 years into it, do you go to a 20 or 15? I can show you how much money you save. Yeah, your payment's going to go up, but does it fit your working? Do you get bonuses? That's another thing. Do people get bonuses? Should you be in an ARM? Did you know that an ARM, if you get like a $30,000 bonus that you don't know what to do with, you've already maxed your 401k, you've already done your 403b, you've already done your 459, you've done everything else, you've bought your art, you bought your car, you've gone to Hawaii, and you have an extra 25 grand. What do you do with it? Should you be in an ARM? Did you know that when you have an ARM that's adjusting, that you put a large payment into it, your next payment will actually go lower? So there are some advantages to people who make that kind of money that they aren't. And if you're stuck in a 30-year fix, all you're doing is shortening your term. So if you can make extra payments, let's say you want to self-amortize into a 15-year, but you have a 30-year and you want to pay, why would you have a 30-year fix to do that? You should get an ARM. Your rate's lower to begin with. It's fixed, and then by the time, even when it adjusts, you're still making extra payments, and your next payment actually goes down every time you do that. So these are some of the scenarios that we love to run. My email is Tony@BayAreaLoanSource.com. Gordon's is Gordon@BayAreaLoanSource.com. We appreciate any emails and love the scenarios. Our website's BayAreaLoanSource.com. Any last thoughts before the segment?
Well, we got an email coming in about a guy who has a 15-year loan. It's interesting. When we come back, we'll read it to you online.
This is Tony Mendez. That's Gordon Hines. This is a Real Estate Report here on AM 1220 KDOW. We'll be right back after this break.
This is Money 2.0 on AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back into the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendez.
And I'm Gordon Hines.
Thanks for being with us. So we do get emails. We're going to hit an email about a 15-year loan, just a minute and what that makes sense. A couple pieces of news out there. Mortgage application volume is the second highest of the year. I love hearing that. I love hearing that people, especially going into the summer, the longest days of the year, maybe they have a little bit more time on their hands and they're saying, hey, let's do an application. But it's good to see that the volume is picking up. Rates, there's a correlation between rates and applications, obviously, because refinances are a big part of that. But what we're seeing, the big increases in purchase applications, and we've been seeing that throughout the year. It's still about the same as it was last year, but it did dip over the winter. So it's kind of, if you do the seasonal adjustments, it's about the same. But it's good to see that people are still very interested in purchasing. If I was a seller, and I keep reading that news, there's plenty of buyers out there, Gordon.
Oh, yeah.
I'd feel really good about my position.
It's a healthy sales market. We always talk about we talk to realtors all the time, and one of the good stories about realtors is say if you're representing a seller, you're guaranteed to count on your paycheck. If you're representing a buyer, you're not guaranteed to count on your paycheck because you might never get a contract accepted. So it's an interesting yin and yang going on between the seller's agent versus the buyer agent. We're in the seller's market right now, and everything typically goes on the market goes pending within a short period of time with multiple offers because it's a healthy, strong market. Many people want to buy real estate. Many people want to buy California.
Many people want to buy California. It's one of the hottest markets in the United States. Unfortunately, it's not the hottest. Right now, the mountains, the Rocky Mountains, is the biggest appreciation region we're seeing right now with San Francisco, I think, is in third and Seattle in second. Las Vegas is in there. Places like Reno, Sacramento, wow, they had double-digit year-over-year appreciation rate of returns for last couple of years. The number one spot for Californians leaving the Bay Area are going to Sacramento, and then places like Denver, Phoenix, Seattle, Portland, Reno, and so on.
Yeah, people are chasing the affordability factor. I think affordability is a big deal when things start to go up. We're talking about a lot of people moving out the city into the outlying areas, especially as transportation begins to expand. BART's moving out to different areas that they weren't before. The area becomes more transitional. It's easy to get to. So we're seeing a lot of different things happen in this dynamic area. That's what makes this area so dynamic. We always talk about the weather. We talk about the cost of living, of course. That's the hinge. But you look at the whole Bay Area itself, every city itself you're seeing downtown Billings, Oakland, Hayward, San Leandro, coffee shops, healthy business. I mean, stores are popping up as population improves, and the millenniums are definitely a big part of that equation.
Home prices are still going up with new homes, although they are running into some problems with prices. There's a report by the National Association of Home Builders talking about the price of lumber. They're saying that the shortages and pricing in lumber are now more widespread at any other time that we've seen since the NAHB has begun tracking since 1994. So we're seeing the most widespread shortage of materials since 1994.
Well, I don't know if the tariffs are going to affect that. I don't know what kind of materials actually come in through tariff. I don't know if materials such as wood is a big factor that comes in, or if there's steel. I know the steel industry is definitely affected by the tariffs with the trade war, the potential trade war that we are experiencing. Hopefully the president can kind of get that in hand and kind of make that go away. But everything as we look at imports, tariffs, is ever going to affect the marketplace, because we always talk about this is a worldwide economy. Everything that happens here happens across the pond, and we always got to factor in those issues. So at the end of the day, all we can do is kind of work through it and kind of see what direction we are going to land.
I feel pretty good about buying a new home, though, knowing that there's not an abundant. My brother, for example, bought a house, and a few years later, the developer opened up another parcel of land, and they built another 200 homes that were identical.
So another phase two.
They phase two. Mm-hmm. And they put them at about the same price, same design, but they did it in brick with an extra fireplace and a couple other upgrades, and his house value went down. So I don't think we're going to see that. I feel really, especially here in the Bay Area, if you can get your hands on a new home, I mean, that's a 15-20% premium that you're paying, but I think you're getting a 15-20% premium to begin with because of the shortage and just the relatively new construction standards and
statistically,
upgrades.
New homes always appreciate a little faster than older homes. I mean, new homes tend to have a lot more amenities. The millenniums, that's what they're looking for, these amenities. They want the built-in Wi-Fi, the built-in speakers, all the things that the older homes don't, that you have to actually go out and spend money to get the home improvement to get that comfort level. Traditionally, unless it's a real solid neighbor, certain areas like Piedmont, certain parts of San Francisco, in which, everything is nostalgic, but traditionally, new homes do appreciate a little faster than the older homes.
We forgot to get to that email.
We'll get
to it when we come back after the break. We love emails. It's a 15-year scenario. We will talk about some of the savings and some of the reasons you would do that. We'll come back after this break. I'm Tony Mendez. That's Gordon Hines. You can always hit up our email, tony@BayAreaLoanSource.com or Gordon@BayAreaLoanSource.com. Plenty of things to talk about when we come back after this break. This is Tony Mendez, Gordon Hines, and the Real Estate Report here on AM 1220 KDOW.
This is Money 2.0 on AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back into the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendez.
Adam Gordon Hines.
Thanks for being with us. You can always call the show at 800-516-1220 or email Tony at BayAreaLoanSource.com or Gordon at BayAreaLoanSource.com. We're talking money. We're talking real estate, financing, and the real estate purchase and sales side. Very active out there right now. As far if you're a seller, it's hard to buy. As a buyer, I want to we have an email we want to get to quickly. I want to talk about what do you do to get prepared for that scenario you're going to run into when you buy a house, multiple offers, over asking price, no contingencies. It's getting a little bit more difficult, and it's hard to say because it's been difficult for years, but it is getting more difficult. Buyers are they're nitpicking everything they can. You were just talking about a contract, Gordon, where the address was wrong on the contract, and the realtor's like, oh, the listing agent was just like, oh, the address is, and he's going to nip. I think that's what they're looking at nowadays, these listing agents. You got to be really prepared for that.
Yeah, even though we get a lot of calls before listing agents tend to accept contracts, and a lot of times these guys are quizzing us about the actual qualification of borrowers. They want to know credit score, they want to know debt to income ratio, they want to know how much money they have reserves, because once they put their sale in the contract, they want to make sure this transaction is actually going to close. A lot of them are actually trying to press us on time, trying to squeeze that gap or window into faster closings. I tell them sometimes, we all want a faster close. If we can close fast, we will, but we put that stress on with those little short time limits. We kind of put a very unnecessary burden on the transaction, and everything kind of go haywire from there. A lot tougher to get an extension, but if we build it in right now, it's a lot easier to get it sell.
I still believe in the theory of getting your contract accepted and almost doing whatever you can. Not saying whatever you can, but doing whatever you can to get it accepted. I mean, I don't want you to lie about an appraisal contingency and then throw it back in later, or an inspection, or rely on the inspection to get out of something by getting rid of the other contingencies. I think that's not the way to do it. But I think you have to really follow the advice of your realtor. I think it's important that you use a realtor that is local to the area that you are buying. For many reasons, not only that they know the address, but they might actually know the listing agent and can just basically walk up and say, well, I have a buyer, very good buyer. They got an approval from, Tony Mendez or Gordon Hines, and we're ready to go. I think that's the way that I would approach my real estate buying here in the Bay Area.
I mean, that's good news, I think. I mean, that's solid advice. I think follow the advice of your realtor, follow the advice as a professional. Don't use that cousin Vinny that's part-time. Talk to somebody that's working full-time who's got just as much time invested as you are, and I think you can be more successful to get your contract accepted. We were talking earlier about the 15-year loans, the benefit of 15-year loan. I got an email here from Zach down in Hayward. Zach said he had a 4-unit building back in 2006. He refinanced it from a 30-year loan to a 15-year loan. He's actually accelerated the payments, and last week he paid off that 15-year loan in 12 years. He said, I'm ecstatic about it. My house, my apartment building is now free and clear. The rents have gone up threefold, and now this thing is definitely not a cash cow. He said if I would have maintained the 30-year fix, I would still have another, 12 years left to go, and now my loan is actually paid off in 12 years versus the amount of time of a 30-year.
Curious how much interest he saved.
Interest he saved, but actually the cash flow that he's actually brought to his pocket was important. If rents have gone up threefold and he does not have a building that's free and clear with no mortgage expense, which is the major expense as a property owner, that was a heck of a job, Zach. I mean, congratulations. I wish more people would be a little bit more astute and financially savvy as you were, and it definitely actually paid off. That's what we always talk about. That's what we're here to talk about, advice, different scenarios. What are different people doing? What's your neighbor doing? And why can't you do it? Right?
I agree with that. But each person is going to be different. Each scenario is going to be different. Everybody's credit score is different. Everybody's long-term, short-term goals are different. I think you have to get the mortgage that fits your short-term and long-term goals. I think, and fit that into, are you able to fund your retirement? Is real estate the only thing that you're going to be putting your money into? I would say if real estate's the only thing you're putting money into right in this day and age, obviously you want to be careful, but you also want to really plan this out. You have a good CPA around you, you have a good realtor, have a good loan agent with you, and really plan that out. I don't know what else to say. It's all eggs in one basket. That scares the heck out of me. I have real estate, I have stocks, I have other investments, and I just don't think I could put it all in one basket. However, that's up for debate. I know Gordon's sitting there like, you can always email the show, Tony at BayAreaLoanSource.com or Gordon at BayAreaLoanSource.com. We'll be right back after this break.
This is Money 2.0 on AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back into the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendez.
And I'm Gordon Hines. We're
Thanks
here
for-
every Thursday. What do we call it? Drive Time Special Thursday?
Drive time. I'm going to call it not rush hour, but I'm going to call it slow hour. Because I was sitting in rush hour the other day, and it was pretty slow. It didn't seem like a rush at all.
Well, actually, this is the last Thursday of the second quarter of 2018.
Okay.
So, it's interesting how the year is halfway over already. We're about to move into the first quarter. Fiscal year, most fiscal years for most cities start July 1st to June 30th. We're approaching that date, and wow, time is flying. Or I should say, time is clocking is my favorite phase.
Could be. Time is clocking. You call the show 800-516-1220. Email the show tony@bayarealoansource.com. This is the Real Estate Report. So what do you think about this buying season coming up? A lot of people talk about how the spring and then the fall are the biggest buying seasons. And then we just had a report that purchase applications are skyrocketing right now. It's all about the sellers. Do we have enough sellers right now? You look at the Bay Area, and I don't want to say it's anemic, but there's people lining up for houses, and if we had, 2 or 3 times the amount of houses out on the market, I don't think we'd run out of buyers. Would you?
Well, I mean, not right now. If you look at the overall, what they call the energy pulse of the market, the market has a strong energy pulse because of unemployment's down, economy's doing well. There are a lot of people out there. What we're seeing right now, there's a lot of people out there with a lot of money. I mean, we're doing sales and people putting down 500, 600,000. I'm saying, where is that money coming from? I mean, a lot of it, sometimes it's gift from parents, it's a stock. A lot of young people have stock options they're cashing in, and these guys have healthy chunks of money to invest in real estate. So the more money you invest in real estate, the better leverage your payment is going to be. The easier it is to make a monthly payment rather than carrying a high balance mortgage and stretching to pay a $5,000 or $6,000 a month payment. There's a huge difference. You're paying a $2,000 or $3,000 a month because that's what the cost of rent is. So even if you were to walk away from your house, you're going to be paying the same amount of rent, so you might as well maintain your house. So if you look at the marketplace,
I'm going to interrupt you real quick. That's another reason why I think home prices can still have a little bit more room to grow is because the rents are so high. I'll let you continue.
Yeah, but I the way I look at the overall formula, I look at the complexity of where we are, the benefits that we all have here. If you look at all these things in one formula, it's all working. Now, there is a time where the formula is going to fall apart, as we talk about. And I always say, there was a guy in the office asking me earlier about when I think the market's going to break. He's sitting on the fence looking to buy a house. And I said, well, I can't tell you when it's going to break. You just got to go out and find yourself a good deal. I do believe when the market does break that we're going to have not what we have a crash, we'll have a soft landing because, as you mentioned earlier, people know how to skin in the game. Most people are buying houses, no more 100% financing. They got money, actual money that they're going to lose. And when you're going to lose money, people take a very, very defensive position. Do a lot of things different. People are renting rooms in their house to afford a payment. I mean, the whole dynamics of that whole rental market has actually changed, which is another thing that we never talk about that we probably didn't factor in. That probability of this massive foreclosure happening wouldn't be because people now are a lot more conscious, have a lot more destiny to what they're trying to accomplish in case they get hit with hard times.
I 100% agree with that. You're vested, and the other part of that is where are you going to move? Are you going to sell your house? Where are you going to move? Are you going to work somewhere else? I think people are really heavily vested into what they're doing right now. And not saying the bigger you are, the harder you fall. It really is. I think it's the bigger you are, it's more about the quality of the owners right now and why they own. I think that's the biggest part. A lot of people are reinvesting into their own properties too. I mean, if I could sell my house and upgrade and have a better view or a better school system or an extra room, I would do it, right? If it didn't cost me much more and there was some actual benefit to it, but we can't. There's so many people who just can't do that. So they're reinvesting into their properties right now. I think that's the biggest thing that we're seeing right now. It could be anything from a tear down to a rebuild, right? And those are extremely popular. To just renovating a garage or adding another bathroom.
Man, that's a great point. I want to kind of piggyback on that a little bit. If you go around, I'm always in Oakland, all in the major cities. I see a lot of neighborhoods that were less than desirable. I'm not going to say bad, less than desirable many years ago. And a lot of these neighborhoods have been upgraded simply because of investment. Property owners are investing money in the properties. Properties no longer look run down and dilapidated where it looks like they're just trying to collect rents. Landlords are actually investing money because the more money they invest in their property, the higher rents they can demand. So you're seeing that whole metamorphosis of change. Neighbors getting better. People are walking their dogs. People are biking. It's a whole different change. That's another reason why we're seeing the market doing so well is because everybody now has a vested interest. Before, you own a house on a block, and if the guy across the street, it looked like the house is going to fall down. Everybody's hanging. You don't see that stuff anymore because of investment. That's where the financial difference really does make a difference. And it's something we don't really consider.
Long story short, the more dogs and bikes you see, the better your housing environment is.
Okay. As long as they're not pit bulls.
Well, or I don't care if it's a pit bull, as long as they're not biting me or running in front of my car. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's really what it is. It's not just bikes and dogs. It's about just people and neighborhoods, and they really are redeveloping and revitalizing a lot of these neighborhoods that were undesirable. You can go to any city, San Jose, San Leandro. I love San Leandro, by the way. Oakland, especially, places even in Richmond. We have a lot of clients looking at Richmond. Home prices are fantastic, and when you see that, the sellers are going to be like, I can sell this, and get the heck out of here, or their values go, or their neighbor does it, and their value goes up because their comps are higher, and they can get a refi cash out, and they can fix up their property or an equity line.
And I think the cities are doing a good job, I think, of actually, adhering to what the demands are. A lot of cities now have these dedicated bike lanes, because more and more people are biking. If you're energy conscious, if you're pollution conscious, people that are transient, riding to work, you'll see it all. Even in the rain, you see people riding bikes to work. And the bike lanes does make a huge difference. So as cities have become user friendly, so has the environment, and so has local real estate. And that's a key point to why I think all those formulas are why the market's on an upward trend. If that changes, you'll start to see the market begin to lapse in a bit.
You can always call the show, 800-516-1220. You can email the show, Tony@BayAreaLoanSource.com, BayAreaLoanSource.com. 15 U.S. cities where home prices are skyrocketing. Whoa. Boston, Fremont. There's a lot of California cities, as you would imagine, around here. Look at Fremont. Median list price in March 2017, $899. Median list price in March 2018, 1 year later, $999. So $100,000 difference. Glendale, California, Irvine, California, or is it Irving?
Irvine.
Seattle, Washington. That's a nice one. $100,000. That's a 17.1% increase. New Jersey City, or Jersey City in New Jersey. My brother said his friend is moving into Jersey, and he goes, I'm never going to visit him. San Jose, California, 23% increase year over year. Sunnyvale, California, 24%. Evansville, Indiana, 27%. A lot of cities in the United States doing really well. We'll come back after this break. I'm Tony Mendez. That's Gordon Hines, and this is the Real Estate Report.
This is Money 2.0 on AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back into the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendez.
I'm Gordon Hines.
You can always call the show, 800-516-1220, or email the show, Tony@BayAreaLoanSource.com or Gordon@BayAreaLoanSource.com. I love the emails that Gordon gets because he's more on the investor side and the multi-units, even apartments and mixed commercial and things like that. You get some crazy emails, and I love them. So send any of your kind of those kind of questions to Gordon. I do a lot of the financing part. Gordon obviously does the financing too. 17 years in mortgage financing. Gordon's 28 years plus in real estate. We are your go-to, hopefully your first and not your last opinion, I'm sure, on real estate. You can always send us those emails. I find this interesting, from the finance side. It's a state-by-state list of the highest and lowest credit scores in the United States. Where do you think what state has the lowest credit scores?
Lowest credit scores, Mississippi.
Very close. Alabama.
What state has the highest?
State has the highest. There's three of them. There's Vermont, New Hampshire, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wisconsin.
No, it's interesting.
California is right in the middle, right around the 680 to 690 mark, while those blue states are 710 plus. But overall, credit scores have gone up. I think people still underestimate credit, and we get blasted all the time, Gordon, about Credit Karma, annualcreditreport.com, your car guy, your furniture guy, your bank credit card guy, your loan guy. All of those people are out there talking about credit score, and yet we still see people that aren't taking care of their credit.
Well, credit scores has gone up for a number of reasons. I think one is people are more inept on what the value of a high credit score is, especially if you've been dinged or declined or turned down for something that you really wanted to get, or had to pay higher price for something. Matter of fact, there are people that don't get jobs because of the credit score. So a lot of times, I think people now are more in tune. There are many ways out there to check your credit. You don't have to rely on a service anymore. You can do it yourself. Just about every credit card that you do, every finance that all the banks now offer some type of credit score. It might not be 100% accurate to the score that you're looking for, but it's a benchmark. It's some place to start, and I think people are paying more attention, and people are more attention, better credit scores are going to be.
Let's just lay it out, plain and simple. The difference between a 640 score and a 740 score and a $500,000 loan can be as much as $3,600 a year in payment. That could be your neighbor, and it could be you, or it could be your neighbor that's paying $3,600 more. Why do that when you can just start early and get your credit fixed? You can go to annualcreditreport.com, or you can go to a place like Credit Karma just to monitor it. First thing you do is got to check your credit score. Just check your credit. It's not just the score. Check your credit. Your credit score comes, kind of based on what your credit is.
Yeah, I think it's a monitoring device. There are companies out there you can pay a service if you're not as astute or financially, disciplined, I call it. Just pay a service fee. There's all kinds of places that monitor it for you. It's something you can do yourself, but once again, if you're too busy, you just don't have the financial wherewithal to do it.
There's plenty of sources for that.
Just pay for the source. The $4.95 a month is insignificant based upon the consequences you're going to pay if you don't have that targeted credit score if you're trying to buy something.
So one of the reasons, don't be me. I got into financing because I found it very intriguing that when I went to get a car, that the guy looked at me, goes, just shook his head, said no. And I said, why? And he showed me my credit report. And I spent like 2 months trying to fix my credit, and I did. And soon after I bought a car. But why did it take me 10, 15 years out of school just to find out what credit meant? Start early, get that. You can even get a secure credit card for $500. Get your parents to give it to you, or you give it to yourself and secure a credit card and start building the credit, and then go get another one, and then get another one, and then get a real credit card. Obviously you don't make your payments late. Don't get too much credit. Don't run the balances up too high, but use your credit. And a lot of people have that. They make that mistake by thinking that if they just get credit and keep the balance zero, that helps their credit score. You have to use your credit in order for it to make sense, but keep your balances low.
Yep. And with that said,
all really good piece of advice. That's what we're here for. You can always shoot us an email, Tony@BayAreaLoanSource.com or Gordon@BayAreaLoanSource.com. Our website has some good information as well, BayAreaLoanSource.com. Thanks for being with us today. Shoot us an email, Tony@BayAreaLoanSource.com for any questions. We'll be right back next week. Thanks for joining us.
Hour in the loan business.